And we start our top stories in West Africa, Nigeria, where Kaduna-based Islamic cleric Sheikh Ahmad Gumi has warned the President Muhammadu Buhari-led federal government against declaring bandits terrorists. Now, Gumi warned that Nigeria would stop existing as a sovereign and united entity if the federal government declared bandits as terrorists.
The Islamic cleric allegedly disclosed this in a Facebook post on Sunday night. He, however, admitted that the devastation caused by bandits in the northwest amounted to terrorism. Gumi stressed that despite the devastation, prescribing bandits would lead to severe consequences that will consume the entire country.
Now let's see a summary of what the Islamic cleric says. And from what he has come out to say, the acts the bandits are committing now in Northwest have gradually over time become tantamount to terrorism because whoever or wherever innocent people are, I beg your pardon, let me repeat that. The acts the bandits are committing now in Northwest have gradually over time become tantamount to terrorism because wherever innocent people are a fatal victim, it becomes pure terrorism.
Well, aside that, he also went ahead to mention that this will give criminality a spiritual cover and remove the stigma of discrediting them with such crimes, since now they are fighting a jihad, as they claim. Now, these are not just all. He also went ahead to say Northeast is already and is still devastated by this madness for over 12 years. And that's exactly what he said. Now, he also went ahead to make mention that if we allow terror to set into these raw, naive, unexposed bandits, especially in the Northwest, it will become a bigger problem. And that's exactly what he made a mention of. Well, anyway, let's quickly tell you that we have joining us this morning on Breakfast Central looking at this top story is lawyer and public affairs analyst, Barrister Tony Ehilebo. Welcome to Breakfast Central and thank you for joining us. What message can you make out of Sheikh Ahmad Gumi's statement to the federal government and also to Nigerians? Okay, all right. So we're expecting Barrister Tony Ehilebo to join us. Please do well to unmute yourself if you can. Oluchi, we just saw a statement made by Sheikh Gumi. This statement has gone ahead to spark a lot of... Good morning to you. Thank you so much. Finally, technology has found its way into your hands. All right, so I asked earlier...
and just by a little bit of education, I'm not Barrister Anthony Ehilebo. I'm Anthony Ehilebo Esquire, if you choose to add that.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us. All right.
Make a lot of use of that terminology. But yes, thank you for having me once again.
It's a pleasure.
It is interesting that we're at a place where people make random comments. I know that this cleric has a huge following in Nigeria, but has this not been the bane of our problems? That we are unable to hold people accountable for comments, for associations that they have. People who kidnap people, people who kill people randomly, who ransack villages. The only thing is that they don't have a political ideology, but they're similar to terrorists. They blew up a train track. I mean, what else are we waiting for to designate these people in the right frame and context so the military and security agencies can go after them in such a light? How much did IPOB have to do before they were designated terrorists? We're very close to a point where they will designate Sunday Igboho a terrorist. I mean, we have to come to terms with and accept what the problems we have are. And the fact that it feels as if, unfortunately, the federal government is monocoddling this set of individuals who have wreaked so much havoc, even on the president's home state, Katsina. To the extent that the government of the state has had to tell the telecom companies to shut down telecom communications and take them back into the Stone Age, where they are now in a Hobbesian state of nature, where everything is nasty, brutish, and short. Life is short. That's what you experience now in states like Zamfara, Katsina, the major northwest states are experiencing this. Just a few states in the northwest are free from this sort of criminal enterprise, if you put it that way. Kano State, for instance, has been able to insulate itself. But there's no gainsaying that it is also a fertile ground, and it presents the economic opportunities to those who are far less privileged and do not have such economic empowerment or scenarios to cater for themselves.
All right. Tony, now, I mean, the Human Rights Writers Association of Nigeria, that's the HURIWA, has asked President Muhammadu Buhari to immediately arrest the controversial Islamic cleric for allegedly saying that declaring bandits as terrorists will lead to the end of Nigeria. Now, should this be considered, Tony?
Well, you see, when you've allowed a sort of a character to become a demigod, you then have a problem as a government going after such a character. But I'll ask this question, and this leads to the scenario that the Attorney General tried to explain over the weekend and did a poor job of doing so. There are far less criminally minded people in other parts of the country that the government goes after with such a high hand. But in reverse, when you look at inversely, you look at the situation in the Northwest, the government seems to just hardly even make comments about it. You hardly hear the presidency come out and condemn it as quickly as they do in other parts of the country. Is it because the president is from the Northwest? So, I mean, you can't have a gangrene in your leg and you're pointing at someone else's arm or something to tell the person that, look, you have a gangrene, you may need to amputate your leg or your arm. Whereas you have a far worse problem just in your backyard. The long-term consequences of this is that it's the people who will live after whoever is president today has expired. In the next 10, 20 years, we'll start to feel the consequences of these actions of these people. I have had to live in countries where I've cohabited with people who are from probably Sierra Leone, Liberia, where they've had long conflicts in their country. Now, these people get to 1821 when they were born into this conflict and they leave it. And you find you have an age of people who are uneducated, unable to face the society. So it becomes a vicious cycle. And they'll have to go back to these crimes, go back to these sort of acts in a new dimension. So we need to nip this in the bud. If Uriwa says, arrest this man, and you've been able to arrest Nnamdi Kanu, you have been able to make sure that Sunday Igboho is curtailed in Benin Republic, then you must make efforts to curtail any individual that speaks on the divisiveness. I say Nigeria will end. What does that mean? How will Nigeria end? Because a group of people have chosen to become lords themselves, have taken the way of criminality, and you expect us to continue to monocoddle them? I mean, the statements, I'm wary of making broad statements against clerics of whatever nature, maybe Christian, Muslim, because we revere religion in this country. But
all right,
have we not seen that religion has been the bane of our problems?
Okay, Tony, is it safe to say that bandits are a better and lesser way to describe the insurgency going on in the Northeast rather than the term terrorists?
I think we're doing ourselves a disservice by calling them bandits. I think we're doing ourselves as a country a huge disservice. We should call them for what they are. And this goes back to a problem I've seen consistently over my short time as a human being existing in Nigeria. We lack consequences, proper consequences for actions people take. For instance, if someone kidnaps people on a level that denotes or connotes terrorism, these guys should be arrested, tried, and sentenced publicly, either to death or to prison. And everybody must see that this is the consequences of for anyone who participates in such an activity or such an endeavor, that it will not end well. And it will act as a deterrent. Unfortunately, we are still calling them bandits when they are not. They have exceeded. And who even coined up that name? They are terrorists. How can you call IPOB a terrorist organization and a set of people are maiming, kidnapping? Let's all label them for what they are. If that's what they're doing, if they've chosen to do that, I don't have a problem. We should name them what exactly they are. They are terrorists. And they deserve no better. And I think people have made about turns. The governor of Kaduna State, at some point, monocultural these guys, even went as far as going on TV and saying, I sent money to them. They are our distant cousins from Mali and whatever. And guess what? 2 years down the line, the man is saying, no, designate, bomb the hell out of them. Go to their forests, wherever they are, and, mass murder them. That's what he's saying.
Thank you so much, Tony Ehilebo. Thank you so much for coming on the program today. You have clearly come out to say declaring them. Thank you so much. You've come out to say declaring them as terrorists is the way to go. But thank you so much for coming on the program once again.
Thank you so much, Tony.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so the points are taken, and I'm sure that we'll look forward to get more discussions on this in the course of our programming.